Welcome, horror fans, to HHN365, a Halloween Horror Night podcast, episode 6. My name is Mike, and I'm here with my co-host, Duff.
Hey, guys.
Together, we make up your host team for HHN365.
That's us. And this week, we have a few people joining us.
We do.
So let's get him on. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So first, we'll start with someone you guys know, Nico. He's on basically every week. He might as well be a host. We just don't want to give him that title because it'll get to his head.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It definitely will go to my
We also
head.
have... Yeah, we know. And then we have a couple of new guests joining us this week. From the YouTube channel, the Jessie Jen, we have Jess. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. And then we also have Eric. You can find him on social media accounts at eDiaz280. Eric, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, everyone?
And we have everyone here. Basically, just have a roundtable. We're going to sum up HHN29. But first, we're going to do the norm. We're going to go over some news, some history. So let's get right into the news, I'd say.
We have some breaking news today.
We do. They did announce the dates for HHN30 already.
Oh, boy, and everyone's mad at it for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. So if you listened last week for our hot takes, Mike got a point for the
I already got a point.
He said it would start the second week of September. Well, the event is September 10th through October 31st. It's going to be 39 nights. They also stated that there will be 10 houses and 5 scare zones. So it looks like I lost my scare zone.
Yeah.
Getting additional.
Having it end on Halloween is so perfect because it's a Saturday for next year, and it kind of sucks just going to a haunt on November 1st and 2nd because it's kind of like leftovers. It's like still listening to Christmas music on the 26th. It's like, do I really want to keep doing this? So I'm really glad that it just ends on the 31st. So that makes me happy.
You enjoyed your November 1st Dark Horizons, didn't you?
I did enjoy November 1st Dark Horizons, but it's fun.
We'll talk about that later. It's okay.
Yeah, it's just fun that it's going to end on the 31st. I think that's really fun.
I think we all probably expect that there will end up being more than 39 nights when it's all said and done. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that's going to get announced till we actually get to the event itself, if at all.
Yeah, they usually end up adding an extra night anyways.
Which I fully expect, once again. So yeah, we got that out of the way real early. So it's kind of nice to know off the bat, I guess. The other piece of news we have is the House and Scare Zone of the Year from Universal came out. Scare Zone of the Year and House of the Year both kind of surprised me. And now I know this comes a lot from an operational standpoint as well. So it's not necessarily like this was the best house, but also just basically the performance. And they're looking at analytics for these as well. But the House of the Year was House of a Thousand Corpses. The Scare Zone of the Year was Anarcade. Personally, I don't agree with either of those on my list. I know, Mike, you had Anarcade.
I had Anarcade. It was 1 and 2 kind of bouncing back.
How does everyone else feel about those? Are they kind of in agreement? Are they what's going on?
With Anarcade, if you said they went off of analytics, I mean, that's perfect because everybody hashtagged that. That was the only place where you could really do Instagram stuff. I mean, they're in Hellbilly, but not everybody wanted to put Hellbilly in a hashtag. So it's just better that Anarcade got it.
I don't know how much social media impacts it. It's more kind of guest flow and incidents and stuff like that. From an operations.
It's easier for that to be there because that's what you basically walk through to get to Stranger Things and Ghostbusters. You have to go through Anarcade.
I mean, if you look at the history of the event and the winners of Scare Zone of the Year, it's not typically that location, though. So, anything else to add to that, anyone? Anyone agree with those?
I don't agree with the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite either.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed the house, but it was not. It wasn't even top 5. Wait, it was. We'll talk about that later, but it was upper end. All right. Well, anyways, so might as well just get into the history there.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I'll let you take over.
Let's get into the history. So this week's history segment was inspired by one of Nico's hot takes for last week's show. If you haven't heard the show yet, Nico predicted due to 30 being XXX in Roman numerals, there would be an adults-only branded house branded Triple X. That inspired me to take a look at if Triple X has ever been used before. And I didn't have to look back that far. It's actually used this year. I'll get to that in a second. So this week's history segment is on the Toxic Tunnel Scare Zone from the Hollywood event, first debuted in 2017. We definitely sure hope it's history, but we'll get into that in a second. So one of the unique challenges to the Hollywood event is there always been like guest flow problems. So many of the houses for the Horror Nights are built in the Universal backlot. That area is separated from the main park's lower lot by an underground tunnel / parking lot for the offices above. In years prior to 2017, that tunnel was used unthemed as an entrance to the backlot portion. In 2017 was the first year we officially saw a scare zone, and it was titled Toxic Tunnel with 1X. The official description went as follows. Utility workers are doing their repairs inside the tunnel and accidentally burst a pipe of toxic gas. Hazmat teams were called in, but everyone has been infected by the gas and turns into zombie-like subhumanoids, as usually happens in this sort of situation. Literally in the script. You just need to get past the crazed workers before the toxic gas turns you into a subhuman.
Oh, that's all you need.
The implementation of this zone was highly criticized right from the get-go, basically due to its bareness. It almost exclusively relied on a few strobe lights and a few characters and melted face masks. It returned the following year with almost the exact same implementation, but this time titled Toxic Tunnel with 2 X's. Duff, you actually experienced 2X Toxic Tunnel, right?
I did. The double X. Dos Equis is my Toxic Tunnel. Yes, that is correct.
What did you think about it?
Well, you said it relies on little strobe lights and little scare actors, and that is very accurate. That's all it is. Some strobe lights and some scare actors.
Little as an amount.
No, correct? Like amount, yeah. Not the size.
Okay, now
yes,
like
they
size
had
of the
like miniature
actors.
strobe lights and only scare actors under 410.
That's what I imagine in my head. It's like, well, it's a tunnel. They got to fit in there. So, I don't know what I was thinking.
But yeah, no, I do not enjoy it. I did not enjoy it the year I did it at all. It just kind of felt like a throwaway. I mean, it is a throwaway, really, because it's basically just an area you walk through to get to a different area of the park. And instead of walking forever without any kind of scares or environment, they just put something there.
Yeah, sounds like a dump.
All right, well, that leads us to this year, 2019. Toxic Tunnel returned with, you guess it, a 3rd X. It was Toxic Tunnel. This year, it seemed like they at least responded to a little bit of the criticism of how cheesy it was. They designed this characters to be like kind of cartoony on purpose, but still lacks really any scenic design. It was just kind of thrown in the tunnel. Sadly, Nico, they missed the opportunity to make it an NC-17 house. There was no Triple X content.
Aw, darn.
Maybe next year, Nico.
Next year.
Yeah, well, I'll just have to go to Dark Horizons again.
All right, that is the history segment.
I don't want that to get any more NC-17 than it was.
No. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Let's hop right into it.
Yeah, let's get it. So we're gonna break up our discussion a bit here, and it's gonna be into 3 different sections: shows, scare zones, houses. What do you say we start with the shows?
Okay. Let's do Academy of Villains first.
Okay, works for me. So just overall feeling. How did everyone feel about Academy of Villains this year?
I actually didn't get a chance to see it.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know.
The one year
I didn't even see it at all.
Oh no!
Well, Nico, did you see it?
We're talking about the show that was where Fear Factor usually is, right?
Yes.
Well, I guess you and I
so explain by scene, because I've heard it. I heard it when I was waiting in line for 1,000
I think everyone has heard it.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, no, you can stop talking. It's okay.
Yeah, Duff and I have talked about what we thought of it.
We've talked about it plenty.
How is it?
We enjoyed it. Moving on, Marathon of Mayhem. Guys, how was Marathon of Mayhem this year?
I thought it
was cool.
Nice addition overall, I'd say.
I agree.
It's good for capacity,
Oh yeah, I mean it usually filled up like most showings too, which I was pretty impressed.
Definitely.
It's the best show to ever go in that lagoon, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah,
agree.
better than anything else.
Oh,
Yeah, they finally are able to use like effective water screens now instead of, just doing the ones where like, oh, we can make images happen out of different droplets. They're like, oh wait, what if we actually project real things onto these screens?
Yeah.
That's good. But the best part is, and I know this is Duff's favorite part too, is like when they slam that rewind button right to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, man, that like the hair goes straight up on the back of my neck. I love.
It's a hair raiser.
Yeah, it's better than Epcot Forever too. Like even that's so good.
So that's what I was going to ask, and I want to hear separately from everybody. Is this the best water projections show in Orlando, or in general that you've seen? Mike, we'll start with you.
I gotta say yes, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's the one I enjoy the most.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, actually. I think it is currently my favorite, I guess you would say, nighttime spectacular, right? I guess it's not current. It's actually out of date now.
Yeah.
Retired, unfortunately.
I have a very soft spot for Phantasmic, but I don't know. I think this might have been better.
I think I agree with you. And it may be because Phantasmic's so long and that's a shorter viewing.
Yeah.
But, Eric, what do you think?
I think it's great. I mean, I love the show, but is it the best? Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I do have a soft spot for Phantasmic. I worked kind of sometimes Phantasmic, so it's a special place in my heart. But no, this was actually a really good show. It's the best show they had in that park.
Oh, I think we definitely agree with that one. Got a lot of sunsetters here too, so
yeah,
a lot of soft spots for Phantasmic.
I still think Phantasmic. I still think Phantasmic is better, just because it is a longer show and there's a lot more elements to it. It wasn't all just projection and lasers and that. But I mean, out of a current show of shows that have premiered within the last decade, oh yeah, it's definitely better. It's better than that. It's better than like One Ocean or whatever the heck SeaWorld is calling that now. I still think Illuminations was my favorite nighttime spectacular, followed closely by Phantasmic. Right now, it's probably Phantasmic than this. This is just incredible, though.
Fair, that's fair. And Jessica,
I liked it better than Phantasmic. I just liked the aspect of it was only about 10 minutes long, so it caught everybody's attention. People weren't getting like bored with it.
I'm right on board with you. I think it's so easy to just go back and watch multiple times.
That is true.
Walk by, catch it, just keep going. Whereas Phantasmic's a whole process.
Yeah, I love Phantasmic, but it's not it's not a full water show, where this was more fully a water show, like World of Color.
It is more comparable to World of Color. You can't really compare this show and Phantasmic. I mean, you threw in just saying, what's your favorite nighttime spectacular?
Yeah.
And kind of throws into there. But this definitely kicks Rivers of Light's ass so hard. The music's better too, Duff.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, we're not going to get into that. It's a Horror Nights show. But that's going to wrap it up for shows. We're going to get through that one pretty quickly. Now where we're really going to start delving into stuff, I think, is Scare Zones. For Scare Zones, we're going to talk about these first. And at the end, I'm going to ask for everybody's top 5 rankings of the Scare Zones. Mike, what do you want to start off with?
Let's go how most guests go, straight to Anarchy.
Let's do it. So we kind of already brought that up, and it seemed like everyone at least enjoyed it. Did anyone love it here?
I loved it.
Besides you.
I would say heavy like. Maybe I am not ready to say love yet, but I would say heavy like to Anarchy.
Okay, fair.
I mean, it was a good scare zone, and it fit the theme. But to me, that was it. Like, it was short, sweet, and you kept on. That's it.
There didn't need to be chainsaws in it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It didn't really go with the theme.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think they kind of like the neon chainsaw thing. I don't know. I mean, that's the theme of the year, I guess. as far as chainsaws go, but I would tend to agree with that. Not necessarily.
Yeah, if they would have had, like, maybe instead of having the chainsaw noise, if they revved it up and it made like a synth noise, like a high pitched like synth noise where it goes like or something like that, like that would be like so freaking cool. Like if they had that.
Is that what chainsaws sounded like in the 80s, Nico?
No, but like, what was that old Far Cry game, Blood Dragon? Like if it had like some of the sound effects from like, shoot like some of the guns and firings from like that 80s style game. I think that would be cool to have, because you're just listening to all that music and pumping in like that, and then you hear just it really just takes you out of it.
I don't know. Chainsaws are just inherently scary.
Yeah, I mean, to us, probably not, but it's true. How many people do you walk around staring at the chainsaws, and as soon as somebody moves it towards them, they start running? They don't even have to.
That is true. That's true.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get why they're there and they're all over. I mean, that doesn't mean you have to. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about chainsaws in this scare zone.
I thought it worked.
Yeah.
So one thing we talked about in previous episodes is kind of how Anarcade is leading into the change of scare zones becoming kind of glorified photo ops. Mm-hmm. Are you guys picking up on that vibe as well?
Yeah.
Definitely saw that in Anarcade and Hellbilly.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever the heck that's called.
And then, do you guys like that, though?
I don't. I miss the walking around being scared before even getting into a house, where this year I didn't get scared once in any of the scare zones.
Yeah, I think you'd run into a lot of people who would say the same thing there. There's definitely a lack of horror in the Horror Night scare zones this year.
Yeah, it's disappointing a little bit.
Which I when we were talking, like, we get it, we understand
they're
why,
all fun.
But as someone who's been going to Horror Nights for a while, and kind of as everyone does who's been doing stuff for a long time, longs for the old days, kind of thing. Yeah. Kind of miss that like fear and like the gore, and you miss that sometimes. And this year you didn't get any of that, and Anarcade, I think, is a perfect example of not getting any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been years.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah,
Vikings is the scariest of them.
It definitely was, and I think that kind of also leads to my point, which we'll get into when we get to Vikings Undead.
You want to go there now?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Let's talk around a little.
Yeah.
Well, that's my favorite scare zone by far. I mean, they're like the others kind of merged together for me, but this one definitely stood out from the rest. I didn't get to see Vanity Ball, so I don't know if that influences my decision. But the Vikings area is great. I love the actors there. It also had the most fog, and was the hardest to see as you walked through, which to me is what a scare zone should be. It should be full of fog and get you disoriented to get through.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always a good way to set up the scares.
Good props and sets, too, in there.
I think that was, for me, what I liked the most about Vikings Undead this series, especially compared to the other scare zones. I think the props worked really well with the space, as they usually do in that area. But it just kind of sets up everything to happen for you. So all the scares from there, just the general mood. So I think they did that the best in Vikings Undead. And it's also the least, as you were saying, the least photo op-y. I don't even know that it was like a scary scare zone, but it was the most scary scare zone this year.
Yeah.
Instead of saying photo op, you probably just say Instagrammable, because that's definitely what they were going for.
Yeah, definitely Instagrams.
Yes, Instagrammable.
For the grams.
That's what a photo op is for now, though. It's for Instagram.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's for the grams. What's a photo op? No, it's all about Instagram shots.
Yeah.
Instagrammable moments, as corporations like to say.
Just like, what's a pound sign?
Yeah.
What did you think of Vikings Undead, Eric?
What I thought it was cool is that they actually did a lot more show compared to all the other ones, like compared to especially Vanity Ball. So it's cool to see the shows and, skinning or ripping bones or cutting up a person. So I thought that was cool to see all that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't the best that I've seen them do. I've seen other years they have done better, but it was still cool that they still go and try to do those weird feelings for people.
Don't get me started on the shows at Vanity Ball. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we don't want to talk about that right now. Jessica, how'd you feel about Vikings Undead?
I enjoyed that one. There was times where like I wouldn't see somebody hiding in the fog and they'd come at me and I'd flinch, which was kind of like the only scare zone that would happen in.
Mm-hmm.
I also saw the most people like getting scared and actually like running through the scare zone trying to get away from people.
Yeah, you're right. That's the only one I saw that too.
Yeah, it kind of leads into our whole like it was the scariest scare zone of the year, and I think we'd all agree with that.
Yes.
All right, so why don't we just go to Vanity Ball and talk about the shows a little bit there, Mike?
I loved Vanity Ball, but the shows kind of stopped happening.
Yeah,
it kind of felt that way,
I'm
didn't
so
it?
sad with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think they scaled them back quite a bit somewhere in the first or second week. That first couple of days, they had shows going continuously.
Yeah, it felt like it was literally nonstop. Like one would finish and they just bring someone else back on and start another surgery, or keep the runway would just never stop going. And then
I went the first 2 weekends and I hardly saw that happen.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe I was just getting the wrong set or something.
See,
but
I mean,
I hardly saw anything happen there.
That could be what happened to us later on, but it's tough to say. Like for 2 weeks we saw it. Well, I'd say 1 week we saw it a lot. The next week it was okay, and then for the following 6 weeks it was like, where are they?
Yeah.
I don't know. Did anyone else? I mean, Eric did, of course. Anyone else kind of get that sense that where are the shows?
Yeah, I did. I noticed like what you said, where there was a lot of it at the beginning of the event, and then towards the end it was kind of like, I don't know if they stopped them or they just made less or they gave up on them.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I didn't even see like the catwalk show going on.
Yeah, and like I feel like that is one that they should have pretty consistently done, because there wasn't too much to it other than walking down the runway, and then they'd kind of just go out into the scare zone from there.
Yeah, I kind of noticed it stopped being an actual show and just like a few people getting on the catwalk and then getting off. But the first couple of days, it was actual show.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I still saw, there was times I saw, I don't know what you'd call the person with the mic up there.
Yeah.
But I'd still see them
MC,
up there.
I guess.
Yeah, the MC. You'd see them up there occasionally talk into the mic. That's about it. I did not see one of the operation shows in the last 6 weeks. Not once.
No, I didn't.
I went through that scare zone at least once every trip, usually multiple times.
I would hang out in there.
Yeah.
Nothing would happen.
Yeah. We've gone over the depression this caused for you.
I wonder why could it be the operation stop? Like, they thought it wasn't a good scare zone anymore or something?
See, the thing is, I don't get it, because on social media, people love Vanity Ball. Especially at the beginning. Like from day one, it was like, oh my god, Vanity Ball is scare zone of the year, and it's going to stay that way, and can't change my mind. And then things changed, and that was very fortunate.
Yeah.
So I mean, overall, I liked it, but I think I liked it kind of based on what I saw of it, and not how I actually experienced it throughout the entire event.
Yeah, same.
Because by the end of it, it wasn't that enjoyable.
Yeah.
Just to walk, not a lot of shows.
Like, they interacted with the guest more at the beginning of the event.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were just kind of walking around and not, like, almost not trying.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There would be, like, the scare actors had, like, they had the lunchbox and with the heart in it, and just, like, different organs, and they'd always, like, run up to you and interact with them, and they were just kind of walking around by the end.
I was voguing with one of the actors, and like that never happened again after that.
Yeah, see, I think that's what people loved about it. And then I don't know if this was an operational change, if they were told to tone it down, if they purposely cut back shows, or a lot of us just got really unlucky, which doesn't seem likely. But I think it dipped a lot. And my rankings might reflect that. We will see.
Ooh.
Yeah. My former number one might fall. Ooh. All right. Anyways, let's move on. Let's do, how about Zombieland?
Okay.
Get into Zombieland.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about it.
It's warmed on me a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it because of Jogging Zombie?
Yes. That's a big part of it.
And while I do not like the Scare Zone, he might be my favorite scare actor of the year.
Yes.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Y'all being those
I like the Easter eggs in this one.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Well, go through them.
Okay. Bill Murray Zombie is always fun to interact.
Mm-hmm.
The Jogging Zombie is great.
Yes.
The toilets are fun. Mm-hmm. I found out about those halfway through.
That's the best part.
If people would open the correct porta potty, that'd be nice. Yeah. They're always trying to pull the lock on with the scare actor for like 2 minutes and it won't open. They're like, what? Jump out. It's like, just open the other door.
It's best when there's like a whole crowd there. I like that.
See,
when they're all just standing around, they're like, oh, what's going to go? What's going to happen?
That was my least favorite thing about that, because it's like, something's happening, rather than them just being porta potties that like, oh, I walk up to, what's here? Ah.
Yeah, but
it's a whole crowd. Funny. It's just everyone's crowding around, and then like finally this one 14-year-old's like, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to impress everyone. And then, I feel that took away from it a little bit personally.
Yeah, but on the other side of that coin, it's also funny, like, when you get, like, one of the other, like, kind of like adults that are actually really scared of the event, and, like, they want to open the door because they're like, I don't want to be that scared. And then they're, like, gingerly, like, patting at the door like a cat trying to get, like, a toy. Like, nah.
Are you recalling your personal experience with this?
Yeah, and they go up there, and then, like, how you kind of like twist your arm like kind of backwards and like flick your hand at the door to try to open it, and then the actor knows you're right there, so as soon as you try to do it one time, they come out and then you just see them running straight to the Fallon bathrooms. Like, it's just so funny.
It definitely got good scares, which I enjoyed watching.
Yeah, but the rest of the land was a little disappointing. I mean, I like the cars like there because it's just cool to see cars parked on that street. And I liked the remake of the SNS Power Tower that they had there, which is funny because there's two of them next door in the park next to it. But overall, Zombieland was kind of meh.
Was anyone like me highly disappointed with the shows?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were supposed to be shows?
Exactly. Yeah, so I know you
recorded voices.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I heard when I was waiting for Stay and Scream for Ghostbusters. Oh, that's what I heard.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I'd bring up first is why use recorded voices when you have actors that every year in that scare zone are live actors.
Yeah. Who do you think you are, Dark Horizon?
Considering how The Purge was in there with the auctioning and stuff, and they made it so good with that. It's kind of sad that they have a big scare zone like that in there, and they're not even letting them talk.
Yeah. I mean,
let them act. Come on, let them act. Let them act.
And then I think not only that they didn't, or that they did use voice recordings, but why do the same show for every character and not switch it up a bit?
Did we ever get confirmation on my theory that it was coming from the movie? Like the movie company?
I don't think we'll ever get confirmation on that.
You would have to probably like listen to a recording and like listen to the movie at the same time to figure that out.
No, I don't mean like that. I mean from like the production company wrote a script and say you have to stick to this. And they gave them like 3 or 4 lines.
It could be because that turned out to be a little bit of a bigger hit than they expected, and there's a lot of big names attached to that compared to The Purge. Because The Purge doesn't really have big names attached to it. It's just a fun franchise.
Yeah, and I feel like what you're saying, it feels that way. It feels like it's written. It's like, this is what you're going to use. Stick to it. But
yeah, it's the writer of Deadpool. How can it not be funny?
why would Universal Creative accept this? It's not a Universal property. There's so many properties that they could use their own that they don't have to lease. Why would they take demands that diminish the scare zone so much while paying for the property? It's not a massive property.
Do you
it just
think
doesn't sound like it'd be worth it for them.
Do you think that Universal like kind of selects what they think will be good for that, or do you think Universal was paid to have that in their park to for the upcoming Zombieland Double Tap?
I mean, I know it's possible.
Because that
was a marketing
photos.
Yeah, the photo stop.
Yeah. I mean, that is a possibility. I know typically that's not the case. That
like,
they
could have been like
pay
some
to lease it out. But if
promo?
I mean, who is it? It's Sony, I believe, owns Zombieland.
Yes.
If they were, really desperate for like big marketing, I guess that's possible.
Well, I mean, it could also just be the ego from the writer of like Deadpool. He's like, "Oh, I wrote Deadpool, the #1 R-rated movie of all time. I'm funnier than what these improvised actors can be, so they should just listen to whatever I write." Because everybody loved it when Deadpool broke his hand and went ha ha, and then he looked at the camera and was like, "Ouch, am I right, y'all?" God, I don't like Deadpool, so I'm sorry.
I do feel like Zombieland, the first one, was quite a while ago. I think the steam has kind of fallen off. I think people really liked that, but I think people forgot about it.
People definitely forgot about it. And the thing is, Zombieland Double Tap, you saw some ads on YouTube and stuff start picking up close to release, but like going into Horror Nights, like I don't want to say many. There were a lot of people who did not know there was a new Zombieland coming in.
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just overall a weird choice. I do want to do one thing since we are kind of trashing this, and I like to be fair. Let's mention one thing, at least one thing we enjoy, and I'm gonna start because I only have one thing, so I'm gonna use it before someone steals it. Jogging Zombie. Just walks around, jogs his happy ass around all night, doesn't really scare anyone. He just jogs, and I appreciate him so much.
I really wish I got to see him, because every time you describe him, like, you get the brightest smile on your face, and like it warms me full of joy.
Oh, it warms me full of joy seeing him, trust me.
I'll go next. And it's kind of the same thing. I think the characters overall were having a lot of fun. That one, I think, especially, it came through a lot. Like the characters are having fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. They were.
Who wants to go next?
What do you think? I'll see the porta potties.
I'm with you there.
I love the porta potty. I think that was a great idea. Mm-hmm. And people just try to open it and then get a jump scare from there. Why not?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great scare.
All right. Jessica?
I just remember the first weekend before the show starts, they have I don't remember the character's name, but the Jesse Eisenberg person in like a carnival room area with bars before all the zombies.
Yeah, that little room in front of the mummy.
And if you get him at the right time where he's like stretching and warming up, he really like interacts with you, and it's really funny.
Oh.
And like that was a really cool experience. I've never had it again, but that was really cool. He was talking to me and my friend, and he was like, "You guys need to stretch. You need to get out of here." And he was like really acting before he actually had to do like the voiceover thing. And that was like a really fun thing. That was kind of like old school Horror Nights where they were like acting and interacting with you. So that was really cool in that scare zone.
I don't know why I remember this, but I believe his name is Columbus.
I know there's Tallahassee.
Yeah,
Columbus. I don't.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember my wife's phone number. I don't know how I remember that.
Where they're from.
Anyways, but that kind of fits in. I think we all kind of agree. Not a great scare zone, but the scare actors did pretty well this year.
I have a quick question for Mike, real quick.
Yes.
What Woody Harrelson movie would you have there instead of Zombieland?
Oh, good question. The U.S. versus Larry Flint.
Dang it! I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were either gonna say that or 3 billboards outside of Missouri.
Oh my god!
Which would have been good too. Like, I don't like what you put on them billboards, man.
That would have been really good, actually.
Or they could do another Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg thing. They could do the old "Now You See Me." But
don't give them any ideas.
It could only be.
We would get that. It was like no scares in Halloween Horror Nights. We're just gonna pimp out movies.
But it can't be themed to the first one. It has to be themed to the second one. Like there has to be like some rule. Like no references. Morgan Freeman's not in this. Don't do this.
All right, we're gonna move on from Woody Harrelson and go to Rob Zombie.
There you go.
How does that sound better?
Hey, look at you hosting this podcast.
Hey, look at me taking over. Makes I don't want to hear Nico talk so much. So I'll let Mike. Mike, let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, I really liked it. I love it, but I did like it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think it picked up a lot for me throughout the event. I think at first I had a tough time enjoying it because it was just pure bottleneck.
Yeah.
And they have all these like little mini sideshows that people are stopping and watching, along with there being so many people in such a tight area. It took you like 5 minutes to get through something that's the length of a football field, if that. I don't think it is even, honestly.
No, it's not.
And that was always frustrating at first. And then I was able to start spending some time with you. We did this a couple times where late at night, we were one of the few people in there and really got to take it in.
Yeah.
The scare actors became a little more interactive. We actually enjoyed the Instagrammable spots.
Yeah.
Which we never do. We hopped in Dragula and
you did?
burned through the witches and ditches and stuff.
We sure did.
But yeah, so I think it picked up a lot for me as the event went on. It's definitely not my favorite scare zone, but overall enjoyable.
Now that the event is over, can we like pick another heavy metal band that we think would have been better in that spot?
Better, but I mean,
or more fun. I don't know. I put it on record. I'm not the biggest Rob Zombie fan in the world. I know
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Who in Halloween Horror Nights?
I don't. Iron Maiden.
That would be cool. Like have an Eddie.
Yeah, that
house.
would have been cool.
Yeah, that could be a decent.
Megadeth.
The Alice Cooper one a few years ago.
What about Guar? I think Guar was perfect.
Oh,
I liked Alice Cooper better than Rob Zombie. So
Alice Cooper would be great.
That's an easy choice right there since it's been done.
He's also campier, which I like.
And then, sorry, what were you saying, Jess?
That the Alice Cooper house. I don't know if you guys did that a few years ago, but that one was actually like crazy.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous I didn't get to enjoy that.
Well, you'll be going from now on. You won't miss anything else.
That is true. I'm a hunt man. I'm a hunt boy now.
Eric, we cut you off a while ago. What were you saying about the Scare Zone?
Actually, I thought it was a great scare zone. It kind of reminded me a lot of old school Horror Nights with loud rock music, sexy ladies dancing to distract the guys and let the guys get scared for a while. And just like mini shows, like I thought the shows were great. So it brought me back old school memories of Horror Nights. So I'm happy they brought that back. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that was one of my favorite aspects of it, the fact that it felt like old Horror Nights.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about before, we're always kind of like longing for the old days, and that brought it back. And it didn't matter what song was playing because it just sounds like really loud music and people being loud, and that's just very Horror Nights to me. And that definitely helps my experience in the Scare Zone. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit as well. When you line up a Scare Zone like, we'll take Anarcade for example. All right, let's do Vanity Ball because it's received a little bit better among the masses. Vanity Ball versus Hellbilly Deluxe. Just the simple aspect of one is very Horror Nights, loud music, a lot of people, fire, and the other one's very much based on the shows and the scare actors. What do you look for more in a Scare Zone?
How about you go first, sir?
I mean, if you could have given me a mixture of both Vanity Balls being very interactive, with Hellbilly Deluxe, I think it would have been badass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I just look for how do you feel. I mean, it's all about how I feel through the scare zone. Each scare zone is going to be different, so it's like, yes, I do want to get scared, but at the same time, I know I'm going to get scared in a house, but I want to have fun during the event.
Since you put it that way, I'll ask, do you think Hellbilly Deluxe would have done better if it had a space more like Vanity Balls? Or do you think it's better in like a cramped space?
I think it would have done better in a space like Vanity Ball, but they would have to, of course, hire more scare actors.
Of course. Yep. Nico?
I think Hellbilly works where it's at with there. I don't think either, in my opinion, are good representations of a scare zone. Vikings, I believe, is the true like scare zone thing. But out of the two that you gave, I mean, I didn't
just talking not the specific scare zones, but like the styles. One's very
like
loud and in your face. The other one is very kind of
that one
laid back, taking the shows.
Then it's definitely Hellbilly, because I mean personally that's what I think of when I think of Halloween Horror Nights. Just growing up and seeing commercials and stuff, and it's like, it's not a theme park anymore, it's a scream park. Come and see here, and we gonna say hell and damn and like other things like that. So like, it feels like it's grown up. It's like, I go on these rides, but tonight I'm at the park at night and there's scary people and I'm seeing cleavage and like I'm just a 14-year-old boy and I don't know any better just going through here. So it's just it does feel like that teenage rebellion with that rock and roll that just comes out through there, which probably happened a lot better than what I've heard of Vanity Ball. So,
and then Jessica,
I like when they're a little more showy, but I wouldn't say Vanity Ball is the best version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I liked a couple years ago when they had the vampire 1950s homecoming parade one.
Vamp 55.
Like, for instance, like
that sounds great.
That had a show, but it wasn't based fully around the show, and it still had scares, but it had a good storyline to the scare zone.
I love that you bring that up because that might be my favorite scare zone in recent years.
Mine too.
So good.
It's one of my favorites.
All right, so before we get into actually ranking the scare zones, I do want to ask just a quick question just to get the general feel for the scare zones. Scale of 1 to 10, how did you enjoy the scare zones this year, Mike?
I would give it 7.5. I really liked them all, pretty much. I wouldn't say they were necessarily scary, but I'm not in the camp where everything has to be scary at Halloween Horn.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Nico?
I feel like the scare zones were nowhere near the level of what the houses are, so I'm gonna give it I'm probably gonna give it a 6, like a soft 6, even there, like maybe a hard 5, soft 6. With the exception of Vikings, it just seems like everything else just seemed like a little bit like filler, but I'm glad it's there. It just didn't seem like it lived up to how great the houses were. And it seems like other theme parks that I've been to do scare zones better because they can't have the houses be good. It feels like they focus a lot more on the scare zone aspect, and I feel like Universal uses it as an afterthought, but in turn turns it into something like it's still so much better than anything we saw at Dark Horizon, but to be a frame of reference. But I don't know, I just feel like scare zones at this year just didn't live up to how good the houses were, and the houses I thought were really good this year. So
I think that's a fair testament to the houses. Jess, how do you feel about the ranking?
I agree. I was going to give it a 5 just because I've been going for years, and this year seemed to be not the best for scare zones. And like I did Hallow Scream this year, and I actually got scared in the scare zone. So that kind of helps me with the scare zone battle a little bit.
Yeah, I remember
Hallow Scream's scare zones are always terrifying.
Yeah.
Because they use elements to their advantage. Like they will hide in bushes.
Yeah.
In trash.
They will.
And I think that's something you just don't see at Horror Nights. You used to.
Yeah.
Not in a while.
In scare zones. Like there's people dressed as bushes just in like normal walking paths, and they get you and you don't even expect it.
And the paths are so windy, you don't know where you're going, and you're just scared, and everything's jumping out at you.
And then I think I'm going to give it a 6. And I think if you took my rankings from like the very end, it would be closer to a 5. But overall, across the event, like a 6. Overall, didn't love them. I thought there were some redeeming qualities. I think Vikings Undead was pretty much enjoyable throughout the entire event. Vandy Ball had its moments where I really enjoyed it. Hellbilly Deluxe, same. So not really a strong year for
nothing for Zombieland.
But there's nothing that I'm not.
No, it was funny. You mentioned all those, and you're like, and you just glanced over Zombieland.
I purposely left it out. I'm trying not to be too harsh on Zombieland, but it drags the score down a little, we'll say. But yeah, I'm gonna go with a 6 there. And then before we go to houses, there is one thing I wanted to ask earlier that we completely forgot about. Jess, Eric, how long have you been going? What was your first event?
My first event was the Sweet 16 year. Yeah.
That was a great year too.
It was a great year. I cried. The scariest movie I ever saw before going to that event was Alien. So
I mean, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, that's very scary.
I did the team member preview with my brother. That was my first experience with it. So it was like no crowds. We did the movie director's house by ourselves. And I was truly terrified.
Such a year. Eric, how about you?
So I'm going to go very old school, HHN6. And I've only met Jack.
Really?
Yes.
Man. So I got to ask you that. Go ahead.
I mean, I started when there was only 4 houses.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then how do you like how much it's changed? Do you kind of accept that, or do you really wish it would go back to the way it used to be?
I mean, I know there's change and they want to bring in more people, which I get it. I mean, it's not bothering me that much, but have they turned down the horror factor? Yes. It's gone down since Jack's year.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I went to ICU, which was Eddie's year, which was number 10 or 11, I forget. And
from there, that would be 11, right?
Yeah.
2000.
It was 2001. I remember they almost canceled it because of 9/11.
9/11.
Yeah, that's why they dumped Eddie.
Yeah.
I mean,
sort of
really?
dumped Eddie. Yeah, he was supposed to be the icon.
Y'all should do an episode.
He still kept his house though.
Nico, don't spoil the secrets.
Oh.
But
we will have full history episodes. Don't worry.
Full history episodes. I mean, yeah, it's gone down, but at the same time, the quality of the houses has gone up. So
I would agree with that. I haven't been going since 6, but since 16, I would agree that's same sentiment.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into houses, Mike.
All right, let's do it. Let's start right with Ghostbusters. How about?
You want to go around clockwise?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right. Well, Nico, you sounded excited about that. Talk about Ghostbusters a little bit.
So Ghostbusters was the first house I went to. First Halloween Horror Nights house I've ever been in was Ghostbusters. And I thought it was a great way to introduce me to the level of just quality and the level of quality of these houses were going to be. Since we were one of the first ones in, it looked like they were trying to get us through kind of quickly, so I didn't get to see like every scene since I only went through that house once. I only went one time this year, but I really liked it. Ghostbusters is really good, really fun. I loved almost everything about it. I wish they would pulse you a little bit through there.
Yeah.
Just because there are specific show scenes to see. But it wasn't scary, so it was kind of good to dip my toe into there for the scarier houses to come. But Ghostbusters, I thought, was a great way to welcome me into Halloween Horror Nights.
Nice. Eric?
I mean, I'm a fan of the Ghostbusters, and this was a house I was going to bring in a lot of new people into Horror Nights. So I loved it. I think it was great. The details of the house were great. I actually did the lights on tour for this house, and I mean, it was awesome just to walk through the sets. So yeah, there was a lot of fun scares, but overall, I really, really enjoyed this house.
Cool. And then I think me and Mike are going to be a little brief about these since we talk about them every single week on here, and we'll let you guys kind of shine when discussing the houses. I thought it was a really fun house. Kind of had a few of those fun scares. The detail was amazing. As I've said every week, basically, I'm not the biggest Ghostbusters fan. I think it's a good movie, but that's about as far as I'll go. Overall, enjoyable, fun house.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Jess?
I think it had some of the best effects this year out of a lot of the houses.
I'd agree with that.
Visually, it's beautiful going through it and the coloring and everything. But I can't remember who mentioned this. It's like they should pulse it through because
yes.
Sometimes I would go in the house and I would miss every single thing that happened in it. And then other times I would hit every single mark. But I would see things that, like, the group of people I went with, they didn't even get to see it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a problem with a lot of the houses, I guess. But I see your point where in this house specifically, pulsing would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say probably one of the best effects that I saw at all of Horror Nights was in this house was when they're getting Slimer. Like when they're all firing at Slimer. I think that's one of the coolest effects. And like it really blew me away like by how they were doing that there. So I thought some of the best effects were in that house. But if they would have pulsed through a little bit better, I would have ranked it a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm. Fair. All right, let's move on to Yeti. Eric, let's start with you.
Yeti was fun. It was actually pretty scary, and it was cool that they actually continue on from the house the year before, the Slaughter Cinemas. So I'm happy they brought back the house with that. So it was cool. It was fun. A lot of great scares, and they were using a lot of old tricks. So I loved it.
Mike? Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Yeti.
Oh, Yeti? Yeti, I think in any other year it would have been one of my favorites, but there were so many good ones this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I tend to agree with that. I think a lot of years for me, that could have been number one easily. I think the scares are there. The sets are beautiful. Again, I appreciate when they kind of continue a story, even though it's not exactly the same, especially since Slaughter Cinema was my favorite house last year. But yeah, great house, great immersiveness, especially being cold in there, which people were like, oh, no, it's not. We know from the inside. We promise it's not going to be colder than any house. It was freezing. It was very cool. Great. Love the house.
Yeah, Yeti. It was so good. I didn't know that there were going to be original IPs there, so I was pleasantly surprised when I walked in there and saw. I was like, oh, this is original. Oh, this is pretty cool. And then the story that goes through there. That one was scary. Guns are a little scary to me because I'm a little lefty here. But so I'm a little scared of guns, not gonna lie. So all the gunplay that's in that house did get to me a little bit. So I think that's one of the reasons maybe why I liked it so much.
And it was so much like an old school Horror Nights house too.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciated. They had a lot of it had really good scares, but it had like humor in it, and like the guy getting hit with the door was just like my favorite part.
Oh yeah.
Like who would think of that to put away that somebody like the Yeti just opening a door and like flinging somebody. It was so cleverly done, that house.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing I liked about it too is so many corners that you never knew was coming around. Whether that was they had above you, to the left, to the right. There was a lot of pinball scares.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just really impressive, clever scares throughout the house.
Definitely. All right, which way should we go next?
I guess next we'd be going to Stranger Us. That
I was
one.
about to say. Oh, thank God. Okay, good.
I should be skipping Stranger Things, if anything, but hey. All right, so Us. Nico, start us off with this one.
All right, so to me, this was an original house because I never saw the movie Us. And I ended up really, really enjoying this. The sound design and the set design are probably the best here. And oh boy, is it creepy. And just the final scene is probably the best scene at Horror Nights for me. Is when you're walking through there and everyone's standing there with the scissors.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm like, oh shit, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Yeah! And then, so me going through there, trying not to act scared, because I know if I act scared, I'm gonna get it multiple times. So I'm trying to go in there like a big boy, and I get the first one. I'm like, yeah, and then I just try to walk a little quickly through that room. So I would have loved to see Us again. Unfortunately, I only went through that one time. But man, was that good! And I really want to see the movie now since I went through the house.
And you should.
You should. It's a good movie.
What about you, Eric?
I thought it was great. I mean, being that was the last house built, I think they did an amazing job. The first time I went through it, I did not see the movie. The second time I went through it, I did. And it just made the house so much better knowing what the whole story was about. And I think that it was one of the best houses that they actually casted people that looked like the characters.
Oh, definitely. The casting was great.
Yeah, so it was great.
Yeah, someone said there's like a Tim Heidecker character that's in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I really wish I would have seen that. I don't think I saw that in my run through there.
He was on your right when you got into the fancy house.
Yeah.
Or on your left actually. Your left, yeah.
I'm trying to scratch my head to see if I can remember that.
Well, while you scratch, Jess, how about you?
So I had the same experience. The first time I did the house, I didn't see the movie yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a really good house. And then after seeing the movie, it made it more terrifying because I actually understood what was happening. And I also feel like every time I did the house that I would see like a new scare that I didn't see before, which was really fun. Like the kid that like crawled on the floor. I got that towards the end of the event. I never saw him before. And then he got me so good because I was not expecting him at all. And I like almost fell over because I was not expecting someone to come at my feet. But it was great.
Pluto, the crawling one, is my potentially favorite scare in the entire event. And we had a problem where towards the middle of the event, me and Mike never were seeing him. And like he just, not that we weren't getting the timing, but he was not there. So we were kind of worried he got pulled away. So near the end of the event, we were very happy to see that he was still there. We were getting him. Overall, I really enjoyed the house. I love the movie. I really like the movie. We'll hold up on the love. But I think it's so true to the movie. I don't know if there's a house this year that's better, just places you within the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
I thought the sets were really nice. As I talked about before,
I think Ghostbusters.
You could tell there was a little bit of rush on it, as there truly was, and it showed a little bit to me. It just didn't feel fully lived in. Mm-hmm. But that's my only real gripe with the house.
Yeah, for sure. I've talked about how much I love Us. It's one of my favorites. I will say it's probably one of the most inconsistent houses. I've had some really terrible runs in it,
I'd agree
but I've also had some really great runs. And the scare actors in this house are really, really great most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. There's times where I've gone through and it's not even like a timing thing, but I feel like there was just a lot missing. And I don't know if this came down to simply because they're lookalikes for a lot of them. They only have so many scare actors.
Yeah,
so maybe they weren't available. I feel like Pluto probably did get taken away for a bit because no one was seeing him for so long.
Yeah.
So I think there was things like that happening that kind of hurt the consistency.
Casting and scheduling probably did hurt this house a little bit.
Did you hear that?
Somebody got hurt in that house because I have a friend who saw an ambulance come backstage, and it was somebody in one of the jumpsuits.
Oh, wow.
So I wonder maybe that could have been the person that got hurt, and maybe that's why they weren't in the house.
Yeah,
that's running with
definitely
scissors.
a possibility.
Yeah, apparently they had a bunch of blood coming out of their nose, so that could have been.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I thought that happened in the Stranger Things house.
It happened in Us, too, apparently.
Never mind.
They're always getting hurt at Horror Nights, though, you know?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that.
Yeah, I just hope it wasn't like a guest getting aggressive.
Usually it's like a reflex, like a guest will get scared and it's like fight or flight, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes if they get too scared, they might accidentally punch somebody in the face.
Unfortunately, that is something that will happen every year.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous job.
Mm-hmm.
I get slapped at Tower one time, so I can understand.
All right, so let's go on to everyone's favorite house, or at least one of us, at the very least, Stranger Things. And we'll let you start with that one, Mike.
Okay, so I really do love Stranger Things. I have enjoyed every walkthrough through it. I see what people have negative feelings about. It is pretty static. I will say my feelings have dropped a little bit, but I don't know if that's peer pressure or if I'm actually not enjoying it. I do enjoy it.
So still enjoyable, but
yeah,
it's dropped a little bit. You're starting to feel what others are feeling
a little
somewhat.
bit. I get what you're saying. It is static. The characters aren't there to really necessarily scare you. They're to tell a story. But that's not necessarily a bad thing in my opinion.
All right. Well, I'm going to run through my thoughts real fast. Demidog, security officer, Demidog, security officer, Demidog, security officer are the scares. The tunnel lasts too long. There's some impressive sets. They didn't need to do seasons 2 and 3 or the tail end of 1 either. And it's my least favorite house. There you go. That's how I feel.
All right. We know our opinions. Let's ask our guests. Eric, what do you think?
I mean, it was an okay house. They could have done so much more. I feel season 3 was just rushed. They're blasting never-ending story, and you get nothing from it. And I don't know, it was not a good house. Compared to the one last year, to this year, it was 2 completely different houses, and this year was not, no. I did it once or twice, and that was it.
One of the biggest things for me was that it's very disappointing compared to last year's effort.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jess?
I agree with that. I also agree that I think it should have just stuck with just season 2, because season 3 was just like little tiny snippets of it. And there was some cooler things that happened in season 3 that I was expecting to see in the house. Like the whole part when they're fighting in the fun house and like all that stuff in the show.
Oh, yeah, that would have been cool.
That would have been really cool to walk through. Bob could have been an actor.
Yeah.
There was like little things like that. But as a fan of the show, it was really cool to like walk through it. But like what you said, it was basically if you saw a Demodog, like that was going to be the scare, and then the security people, and you kind of expected the scares halfway through the house what they were going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely no good scares in that house.
Yeah.
They were all, if you know what you're looking for, you saw those scares coming every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was scared the least in this house. I had never experienced, so the only way I know Stranger Things is through osmosis of Twitter and Facebook and, just people posting that. I've never seen Stranger Things. I thought the house was okay. I thought the sets were cool. But I mean, I can't really say to the validity of like how true it stayed to the series or anything like that. I did like it. I liked the set when they're in the living room and all the VHS tapes. That's one of my favorite areas because I like that. I like a wooden dens area, and I'm a fan of wooden dens. And I thought it was a perfectly serviceable house. I don't think it lived up to other houses I've experienced. So
we can all agree that Mind Flayer puppet is really, really cool.
Oh,
right?
Oh yeah,
That was
absolutely.
really cool.
I'll take your word for it, whatever that is. Mind Flayer.
The very
The
big black spider-looking figure near the end.
Oh, okay.
Where all the actors were in the same room.
Oh, okay.
No, only Lucas.
Oh, you're right. You're
Only
Lucas.
Lucas
Yes,
is in
yeah.
that room.
The Starcourt Mall when it was being destroyed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know Starcourt Mall. That used to be the mall I used to shop at. No, when I lived in Atlanta. Seriously, I think they filmed it at Gwinnett Place Mall. Mm-hmm.
All right, now hopefully on to what is a better regarded house. I guess we'd be moving to House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, Nico. I like that reaction. Let's start it off.
Well, I thought you were going to say Killer Clowns when you said that. Speaking of a better house, sorry. That's what I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to swerve on me there. This was the scariest house to me. I ran out of the house at the end.
Quite literally.
Quite literally. I was not first in my group. I was second, and I pushed my friend aside and ran right past him. It creeped me out the most. The actor towards the end, the surgeon, the robotic surgeon,
Dr. Satan.
Dr. Satan. That's such, or is it Satine? I'm not sure. But that's really good. And I'm not the biggest fan of like fun houses and stuff like that. That kind of like creeps me out. So yeah, I thought it was very scary. It wasn't my favorite house, but it was definitely, I thought, the scariest one to me.
Okay, that's fair. And you said you haven't seen the movie before, correct?
This is also something I've never seen before. No, Ghostbusters and Killer Clowns were like the only movies I've seen before going to this.
Cool. Mike, real quick.
Yeah, I've said my thoughts about it. I think at one point I had it at 10. I didn't like this. I will say that I think this house is probably raised the most in my rankings throughout the event. It's grown on me. I do like it.
Yeah, and then as I've said throughout, I really don't like the movie, and I really like this house. I think there are just some really good scenes. The tunnels and Dr. Satan being great examples of that. There's some solid scares throughout. Very true to the movie. Very enjoyable house.
Yeah. It's a scary house too. I like it.
Yeah, it has good scares for sure.
What about you, Jessica?
I also have not seen the movie. I've seen clips of it though. I think it was really good. Definitely really good scares, and I think it got better throughout the event.
Definitely.
Because I agree, the first time I did it, I was kind of like, that was okay. It's not the best. And then later on in the event, it grew on me a lot.
Eric?
I mean, yeah, I love that house. I think it was great. It made you feel weird with a lot of stuff that was happening inside of the house. I know a lot of people who did it once and then got scared and they're like, I never need to step foot again because that was just creepy and weird. So
amen, brother.
Feeling, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like the Halloween
movie.
Horror Nights house we leave uncomfortable. And I think this one fits that bill. I know Nightingales does that to some people. This one made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, which is always a plus for sure.
Yeah.
So overall, pretty strong feelings. Good.
Yeah.
Good sense on this house, which I'm happy to hear. All right, so next we got Depths of Fear. Jess, start us off with this one.
So this one was not the best for the opening, and I know that they had lots of problems with the heads for the fish monster thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think it was another one that throughout the event, when they kind of took out those and actually gave actors with just some prosthetic makeup and kind of made the house a little bit darker, it actually was a lot better than it was at the beginning of the event. I'm still not saying it was like the best, but I think it definitely improved a lot than what it was on opening weekend.
See, I kind of agree with that, but I think it bounced a lot more than just going from not great to up. There were just so many different times they changed what was going on. I think this one moved between 9 and 6 or 5 on my rankings a lot. Like, it rarely stayed in the same place until the last couple weeks because it was just so different every time.
Yeah.
And not really in a positive way.
Yeah, they definitely messed with this in a lot.
And I understand the costumes had a lot to do with that, so they kind of have to. And like I said before, I thought it would be really good. Before they did this, I said, just get rid of the costume characters and put more of the like humanoid type characters.
And then they did it.
They did, and I personally didn't like them too much. I feel like they didn't work in the boo holes they were in. So it's one that really struggled throughout the event.
Yeah.
Occasionally got a little better and then would go back down.
What about you, Eric?
I mean, it was very sci-fi, which was cool, and it had a good story.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it was okay. It was fun to see a lot of details. There was a lot of details of the cast that worked the house, including the lovely dead dog. But it was still, it was okay.
Yeah, for sure. I would say if you just looked at all these houses on paper and you just read what they were going to be, this one would be near the top of my list. Like conceptually, this house sounds really cool. What they pulled off, it was kind of hit or miss, and it really depended on what was going on. If what you got, it was the most inconsistent house, other than Us, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd never made like an official hype list this year, but it was definitely near the top for me. It sounded like it was going to be great, so it was one of the more disappointing ones. And then, Nico, I know you love to talk about Fathom Corp in your daily life.
Oh yeah, Fathom Corp's great. Yeah, I love like fake corporations and like named people in attractions and stuff. I just love that. Like the Thunder like Mountain Company and at Magic Kingdom and all that other jazz. But I really liked Depths of Fear. I thought and I'm probably one of the few people that thinks this, but I think the fish monsters were done to look like that on purpose. Were meant to be campy. I thought it was supposed to be a little campy in there, like a campy sci-fi.
No, I agree with you.
With that, I thought
purpose.
This is the house that Killer Clowns should have been. I thought they should have gone more into they should have gone in a more direction like this. I loved the fish monster, and I loved all the humanoids. I really liked everything in the house. It did kind of feel like it did feel weird just walking into it from the outside, and this is just probably just clearly me, like how I just know that I'm like in a tent. That kind of just felt weird to me. I know that's going to happen with that and like Nine Gales and stuff, other houses that are just out there in tents. But yeah, I really enjoyed Fathom, all of that Fathom Corp offered me, and I hope to go sailing with them again. I don't know if I ever will, but I would love to go aboard there again.
And then just a quick yes or no. Did you have a problem with the dead dog?
Well, I didn't see it, so
I didn't see a dead dog.
No, I just know of it from Twitter and other jazz like that.
Eric?
No.
Mike?
No.
And I'm a no as well. All right, moving on to Nightingales. Mike?
Nightingales is one of my least favorite ones. I can't put my finger on why. I think it has to do with the Roman theme doesn't really translate into the house. The facade is amazing. I think it might be my favorite facade of the year. But once you actually get into the house, other than a few props and a few characters, the Roman theme doesn't really translate into the scenic design. It's very claustrophobic, and I get claustrophobic, so I didn't personally like it. I've talked about it at length of why I don't like it, but yeah, it just never really ticked the box for me.
Yeah, felt like a maze. It was like one of the few ones that like felt. Well, no, it was like one of the few ones that actually felt like a maze because it was back and forth like that. I agree with you there. It was probably a little too claustrophobic, like kind of like I have to be squeezed into these little areas and kind of spoon-fed like these scares and stuff like that.
I mean, it was definitely on purpose.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see that. It's just that I don't know. It felt like this was definitely inferior to Yeti. I thought Yeti was a better experience, like trying to do the pinball scares, but they kind of let you do it a little bit better there. So I really wasn't the biggest fan of Nightingales, but I thought it was good though.
I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, Nightingale was I mean, the least favorite house of mine, and there were just, I don't know, the scare actors didn't get the story right. There was not too much storyline throughout the whole house. It was just, compared to the original Nightingale to this one, yeah, they like dropped the ball on this one.
The original Nightingales was an amazing house.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, yes.
What about you, Jessica? What do you think of this one?
I liked it. It's definitely it's in my top 5 personally. I don't know if it's because the times I've done it, I've gotten every scare in the house except for the lion that was broken for most of the event. I did go on the last night and the lion was working and I wasn't expecting it. So it was actually scary. But I do like how claustrophobic the house is because you're in that pit arena, and I like that there's stuff coming from a little bit higher and then on your level because you're fighting through the blood pit. So I liked the theming of it. I definitely think the original Nightingale house is 100 times better than that one, though.
Agreed.
Yeah, that theme went through that house so well. Everything felt like World 1 in that house.
Now, one thing I actually like better about this house that I don't know might be controversial. I actually like the character design of these Nightingales better. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, they just look like birds. But I think they kind of have this terrifying look to them this year. Overall, the house, for me, was actually my highest riser throughout the year. It started very low. I think it started at 9, like week 1. And it shot its way pretty far up in my rankings. And I think that's a lot to do with the fact that the scare actors really started to get into those roles a lot. It became a very intense house. I'm kind of with Mike on, I think, it's weird. I liked the theme of it, and I liked the immersiveness inside, but it didn't feel Roman in a lot of parts of it inside the house.
Yeah.
It was a little more Greek,
which kind of,
would you say?
I don't know, all right. It kind of took me out of it a little bit. But otherwise, I think scare-wise, that might be the top house for me. It was dark. The pinball
Very
scares
dark,
in there,
yeah.
there were some really good ones. So I really enjoyed that house this year after a very slow start for me there. And then I think we move to my absolute favorite section of the park, where we're going to go to Universal Monsters first.
Yeah.
Nico, start us off.
Oh, Universal Monsters. Probably the house that made me fall in love with Horror Nights, to be honest with you. This is definitely the house that probably cemented me as a haunt boy, self-proclaimed there. I absolutely enjoy Universal Monsters. It's also one of the ones where I was familiar with the IP before going in, because I love all those classic Universal Monster movies. And every single scene in there kills. The Dracula scene kills. The Frankenstein scene with him and Bride of Frankenstein, and the Phantom of the Opera scene. Oh, that kills as well. Anything with mirrors, like a Hall of Mirrors, that starts to just freak me out. And they do that effect so well there. And just Dracula is also probably the best character in all of Horror Nights for me was Dracula.
Ooh, okay. Devour them.
Yeah. Oh man. It's
so
very good.
Oh, don't do that. I absolutely love this house from beginning to end. There was no scene that I didn't enjoy. Well, some Mummy could have been executed a little better, just flesh it out a little bit more, in my opinion.
I'll agree with that.
I think the house was fantastic. I thought the bungee effects they used were really cool. The scare actors looked great. The scares were there. Great house. Loved it.
There's a lot of pride put into it. I felt like there was more pride put into that than probably any other house. Well, maybe except the next one.
It's my favorite incarnation of a classic Monsters house as well. So.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, they did a great job with all their monsters. It was great to see them back to their glory, I would say, because they did such a great job with that house that, yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Mike? Oh, Jess, Mike's taking time. Go ahead.
No, I agree. Like, to me, that I was thinking that was going to win House of the Year because I think they Like every scare was great. The first, not the very first room, but the first scare room with like the Wolfman is amazing. How he's just there right when you go in and you get scared right off the bat is incredible. That they just get you right away. And all the costuming's great, set design's great. Like everything that you would think about for House of the Year, I think, is what Monsters was.
Well, I know it's definitely a lot of guests' House of the Year. We might hear that tonight from some of us. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Mike, how do you feel?
Yeah, my thoughts are already on the record, but also I'll keep it quick. But I really, really like this house and almost love it. I think the only reason why I don't love it is that although some of the scenes are like amazing, some of them are a little lacking. We've talked about like the Mummy could use some help. Some of the others as well, like Jess mentioned, the wolf. You starts really, really great with the Wolfman, and then it goes into some of the others that are really good, and then you kind of gets into a lull that I don't love some of the scenes, and then at the end, I think it honestly kind of falls flat with the Frankenstein scene. I don't love it.
Okay.
But there's some really good stuff in this house.
Yeah, overall you enjoyed it though quite a bit. I'd say.
I did. And
now one I'm really excited to talk about. So I'm not going to talk about it a lot because we know how that goes. Graveyard Games. It's amazing. Mike, how do you feel?
I'm on the record. I'm a stan.
Oh,
Nico?
the top one.
Let Erica. Eric and Jessica. Sorry, I didn't mean to combine the two names. Yeah, let them go before me for that one. I'm still trying to think of my thoughts for this.
I love this house. I think the details was great. The storyline was great. I love how they were interactive with the whole Facebook Messenger thing. And then you had a bit of a storyline as you're waiting the queue. And what I loved about it too, being a crazy Horror Night fan, is the only house that mentioned something about Cary, Ohio.
Yeah.
So it was great. Love the scares. I think the scares were great in this house.
Jess?
I mean, I agree. I love when anything's referenced to Cary, Ohio. And I also, to me, it's the best original idea house that they had this year.
Oh, definitely.
They had some of the best scares. That was one of the houses that was like my go-to when I got to Horror Nights every night this year was I got to make sure I get Graveyard Games like out the way right at the beginning, and it never disappointed.
So what's Cary, Ohio? What's the significance of that?
Basically, everything that happens in Horror Nights happens in Cary, Ohio. So a lot of themes in the past took place in Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Whether houses, scare zones, there's always every year there's something that has to do with Cary, Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
thing, you're saying it's something that carries over from each one. That makes sense.
Oh.
Okay.
Your puns, man.
I could see that. Well, no, that makes perfect sense. And like, name it if it's something that does carry over. And have you ever been to Ohio? It's depressing. I mean, there's nothing there for that.
I apologize to anyone listening in Ohio.
Yeah,
even though you might agree.
You probably agree. The most people I know from Ohio live in Florida, which is funny. I really like Graveyard Games. Fantastic house, probably the best non-IP original IP house at Horror Nights. Now that I've let it rest a little bit on me, usually when you go to like theme parks and stuff, you're usually welcome with praise in here. But this one, you come in and right off the bat, the kid calls you a dork, and you're like, I hate that kid. I really hope something bad happens to him. And then it does. And then you it's really redeeming. Like my journey through Graveyard Games, just seeing the guy who calls me a dork to see him on a spork, and it just ends up great. So also the smell of spray paint I really like, and I thought that was nice that you walked in, it was like there were some hooligans about.
I touched on it last week, but does everyone agree with me that this is probably the house that has the biggest chance of coming back in some way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
100%.
Yes. I'll agree. I'll just say agree. I mean, because I'm still new to the haunt scene, so like I don't know what would constitute a house coming back. I still am standing by that Stranger Things will come back next year, just because that's still popular, and things like that will happen. But if they try to do like the best of the best, I could see like a sequel to Graveyard Games maybe showing up next year.
Let me preface it: best original house that has the most chance of coming back.
Oh, then most likely that one.
Yeah, because we're going to see Universal Monsters again. We might see the Ghostbusters again. We might see Stranger Things again. I more mean like original houses.
Okay, then sure. I could definitely see that coming back more than Yeti or Fathom Corp, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Oh. Anyways, we'll move on that. Now we're to Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which I personally loved the Scare Zone last year. I don't know how did everyone else feel about the Scare Zone that actually saw it. So Eric and Jess.
Yeah, I missed last year.
Yeah.
And how does the house live up to the hype for the Scare Zone?
No.
Thank you.
I mean, it was a fun house, basically.
It just wasn't scary. There was no scares.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There was really there's a few redeeming qualities. I like the cotton candy tunnel. When that it wasn't Clownzilla, but like the big clown head animatronic / puppet actually started working halfway through the event. That was cool. Outside of that, I did like the first scene. Not too much I enjoyed other than that though.
Yeah, it's straight trash. I do not like this house. I liked every other house. I did not like this house. I thought it was cheap. I thought it was lame. Clownzilla was like the only redeeming quality in there. It just, and maybe because they were trying to go for the cheapness of the film, and like I understand that, but you could have executed it in a more like campy way like that, like how they executed Depths of Fear. I just felt like this felt like an afterthought, and it could be that the area that this location is, it's cursed because it's usually Shrek 4D that plays there, and that's a load of hot garbage. So it's like, well, garbage in, garbage out. So
we've had some decent houses in there before.
Right?
Oh, there
I think so.
Krampus.
Okay. Well, I mean, just like I said, from my perspective of being a new haunt boy, this is no. I thought this was absolute trash.
I think that's fair.
I thought the three houses at Dark Horizons were better than Killer Clowns.
Whoa.
I think any house would be better than Killer Clowns, but
see, hey,
okay,
there we go.
Okay.
I like this.
Well, let's. I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Screw the clowns. Ooh.
Why do you dislike it as much as you do, Jess? Because that was pretty strong.
To me, I get it was the 80s theme or whatever, but there's so many better 80s horror films that they could have chose to put in there. I mean, the 80s was such a high point for horror films that to redo Killer Clowns probably just because they had the costumes already for it. It just seemed like they
that's a good observation.
Yeah, they had everything from last year that it was a very easy way to make a house out of it.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons
Trick or Treat, they had the stuff from the Scare Zone, but they did the house a lot better than the Scare Zone.
I could see what you're saying there. The only thing, I think they brought it back for another reason, and that's because the cheesy, campy horror B film house, Slaughter Cinema, was very well received last year.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they had some success brewing there, and they're like, let's try to strike again. This was a big Scare Zone last year. The house, Slaughter Cinema, succeeded.
And they swung.
Let's make it happen again.
I will say, I didn't like this house, but I think we're mostly in the minority on this. I think the general public really liked this house.
Yeah, I don't see. The thing is,
yeah, I've seen it as high as 3 on some
because
people's
on
lists.
Twitter, are we looking at the general public, or are we looking at
Amanda Yales and
fans
CMs.
who enjoy the campy '80s horror films like Killer Clowns?
That's
or
true.
is it because people complained about the really scary houses, so they probably liked Killer Clowns because it wasn't as scary as...
That is possible as well.
Then we would have seen Ghostbusters higher.
The demographic keeps getting younger and younger, so that's a possibility.
That's true.
So Jessica, what 80s movie would you think would have gone in there better than Killer Clowns?
I'm not like I don't know what one they would choose that would, because like you said, it's campy, so it goes with the theming. Like I can't think of one off the top of my head, because they've already. I get why they probably did it, because they've already done a lot of really good 80s horror movies in past years. Because they've done like Halloween, they've done Friday the 13th, they've done Nightmare on Elm Street, but that also could have kind of worked this year too, Nightmare on Elm Street, because there's so many different movies out of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about the gold standard of so bad it's good horror movies of the 80s? Troll 2.
Oh my god, if we could see a Troll 2 house, and we could see he's eating him, then they're eating me kid. That'd be great.
It might happen.
Did the original Leprechauns come out in the 80s, or was that the 90s?
I was thinking Leprechaun.
The original Leprechaun did. Leprechaun 2, starring Jennifer Aniston, came out in the 90s.
That would make a probably terrible house.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the Leprechaun.
All right.
It's just a guy with a flashlight on his face.
So Killer Clowns has become our zombie land of houses. Good to know. So now we're just going to go through our top 10s. We're going to go one at a time. So one person's going to go fully through their list and then keep moving around like that. And we will start with Eric.
All right. So number 10 is Nightingale. Number 9, Killer Clown. Number 8, Stranger Things. Number 7, That's the Fear. Number 6, Yeti. Number 5, Us. 4, House of a Thousand Corpse. 3, Ghostbusters. 2, Universal Monsters. And number 1, Graveyard Games.
All right.
Oh, wow. That sounds a little familiar.
Mike, you want to give yours?
Sure. My number 10 is Killer Clowns. My number 9 is Nightingales. My number 8 is Depths of Fear. My number 7 is House of Thousand Corpses. Number 6 is Yeti. Number 5 is Universal Monsters. Number 4 is Us. Number 3 is Stranger Things. Number 2 is Ghostbusters. And number 1 is Graveyard Games.
I'm sensing a trend. So then I'll go, I guess. I'll let more interesting people finish it off, since mine is the same for the third consecutive week. So 10, Stranger Things. 9, Killer Clowns. 8, Depths of Fear. 7, Us. 6, Ghostbusters. 5, House of a Thousand Corpses. 4, Nightingales. 3, Yeti. 2, Monsters. 1, Graveyard Games. Nico?
Alrighty, so we're going number 10, or if we could go lower than 10, Killer Clowns. Then we're doing Stranger Things at number 9, and then Nightingales at number 8. 1001 Corpses comes in at number 7. Depths of Fear comes in at number 6. Ghostbusters comes in at number 5 for me. And then this is where it gets a little tricky for me, because I haven't really thought of my top 4. Because, I mean, this is what I usually remember. But I would say it would probably have to go Yeti, Us, Graveyard Games, and then number 1 for me is Universal Classic Monsters.
Ooh. Okay. Jess, top his list. Make it more interesting.
Mine, number 10 is Killer Clowns. 9, Stranger Things. 8, Depths of Fear. 7 is Thousand Corpses. 6, Blood Pit. 5, Ghostbusters. 4 is Us. 3 is Yeti. And then 1 and 2 are so close. But I think I'm going to do Monsters, then Graveyard.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we were so close to being the same.
So was that 4 out of 5 Graveyard Games number 1?
I think so.
Correct.
Nico, missing out, man.
Well, if I would have probably gone more times, maybe I would have gone. Joined the Graveyard Games cult that everybody else apparently has joined. But I'm sticking by my monsters, baby. Like I can't wait for Epic Universe to open.
I think quite a few other people put that at 2, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It was really close to being number 1.
Clowns at 10 is where it belongs. We can all agree on that.
I think there was there's this huge cult for Graveyard Games that slowly towards the end started to die a little bit. And me and Mike were talking, and I think it's a little bit because people just don't want to be like so mainstream. Yeah. They're like, oh no, I can't like what everyone else likes.
Oh God.
You're the Jim Jones of that cult.
I did. I walked through that house and I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's right. You had the sunglasses and everything.
And then really quick, we gotta go through this because we forgot to go through our top 5 scare zones.
Oh yeah.
So really quick, let's just do that. Mike, you want to start us off?
Yeah. Number 5 was Zombieland. Number 4 was Hellbilly Deluxe. Number 3 was Vikings Undead. Number 2, hate me to say this, but it was Vanity Ball. I really, really wanted to love that, and I did for a lot of it, but it dropped for me. And then number 1 was Anarcade.
And then I'm going to follow that up because very similar thing happened to me. 5 Zombieland, 4 Anarcade, 3 Hellbilly Deluxe, 2 Vanity Ball, which up until this week was number 1, and Vikings Undead took up the top spot for me on the final week.
Yahinga dinga durgan.
I think I know what your number 1 is, Nico, so just go ahead and tell us your list.
Well, I don't have a top 5, I have a top 4, because I never saw Vanity Ball.
So that makes it number 4 above Zombieland then, probably, right?
Yes, exactly, yeah. So Zombieland would be 5, Vanity Ball would be 4. Let's see. Hellbilly would be 3, I guess, and then Anarcade 2, and then Vikings Undead 1.
Jess?
5 is Zombieland, 4 is Hellbilly Deluxe, 3 is Anarcade, 2 is Vikings Undead, and number 1 is Vanity Ball for me.
Oh.
And Eric, wrap it up for us.
All right, so number 5 is Zombieland, number 4 is Vanity Ball, number 3 Anarcadia, number 2 Viking, and number 1 Hillbilly Deluxe.
There we go.
Okay. All right. And this has been an extremely long show.
We knew it was going to be.
We knew it was going to be. We're just a bunch of people talking about something we love. Nice. That's how it works.
Wait a second. One thing. All right. Who's Team S'mores Fries and who's Team Pizza Fries?
Ooh, Pizza Fries.
Pizza Fries.
S'mores Fries for Eric. Nico's S'mores Fries.
I have had a little bit of your pizza fry, but that doesn't count.
Ah, that's true. So it's 2-2 technically. Oh. So Mike can be the tiebreaker a year from now.
Yeah, next year.
Next year. There we go.
Come back to this. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show with us. We thoroughly enjoyed it. I know I did. I'm sure for Mike.
Yeah.
Especially for being so long. Thank you for sticking with us. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. I'm sure we're going to do more roundtables. We'd love to have you guys back.
These roundtables.
This was so much fun. I think it was my favorite episode to actually record.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, this was great.
It was a blast. So we're going to let you guys go to bed because it's getting late now. We're going to wrap the show up. Mike, you want to take us home?
Yeah. Should I tease next week?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go for it.
So next week, I don't think we're quite done talking about 29. We're going to do end of the year awards. So we're going to come up with awards for 29. Maybe the ones you would think about, maybe some of the ones that are a little unique. We're going to come up with end of the year awards, and Duff and I are going to assign them.
It'll be a blast. I'll enjoy that.
I got money on Jogging Guy.
He's going to win something.
He's going to win something.
And again, Jess, Eric, Nico, thank you so much for joining us. Go follow them. We mentioned it earlier. I'm going to put it in the show notes as well. Had a great time.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks so much for being on the show, guys. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you in the streets. Welcome, horror fans, to HHN365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast, episode 6. My name is Duff, and I'm here with my co-host. All right, let's try it again.